I'd like to invite my friend Brian Nelson up to kind of set up the next piece. This is a wonderful opportunity. We were just talking about how wonderful it was, Kenya and I, when we were learning the piece, to be able to text the composer, because usually you don't have that opportunity because they're all dead. And so here we have a living composer, and I met him while I was studying philosophy at Benedictine College. He is the music director now at the St. Lawrence Catholic Student Center, and just finished his, when did you finish your PhD?
DMA.
DMA, that's right.
2011.
2011.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So you feel like a doctor.
Well.
All right. Well, what's up?
Okay.
All right. Tell us about the piece we're going to hear.
Sure. So this piece is called Ballade. That name as a title kind of came into use with Chopin. He wrote several ballades with the idea, with the reference of kind of an epic journey, like a poet, a work of poetry. It's a French word, and of course it reminds us of the ballad, the Irish ballad as well. So the piece is very, very lyrical, and it's fairly long and very much about a journey. It has two main themes, both of them quite lyrical. You can just play maybe each theme so you can listen for it. Let's see. That's the first theme. You'll hear that in the first long section and coming back in the final section. And then, let's see. The second theme, you could actually, the music here. It's been about 9 years since I wrote the piece. I don't have everything under my fingers.
One of the things that was interesting, I thought, was when Kenya and I played it for him, it wasn't the way he had envisioned it, and I had approached it wrong because I was thinking French Impressionism,
mm-hmm.
and but knowing Brian, he's a Swede from Wisconsin,
That's
so
right.
he is not a French Impressionist,
right,
and so
yeah.
he said no, it needs to be more rhythmic and more
driving,
and so what a great opportunity. It makes you wonder how many pieces we've been playing wrong all these years.
So anyway, this is the second theme. Very lyrical, slightly more meditative theme. And then the music from the beginning comes back, and then we call this A-B-A form. But after the return of the music from the beginning, it goes into this big climax and ends in an unexpected way. We call that a coda. It's kind of rising up to the heavens, very, very sort of transcendent at the end. But thanks so much. It's so great to see all of you here, and thanks, Kenya and Shane, for all the great work you've done on this piece, and
thank you for the good coaching.
Your kindness.
And he also has brought up some CDs of his own music.
Yeah, including this piece. Yeah,
including this
if you're
piece.
interested in recording. So.
Right. And you've also written some wonderful church music.
Yes,
so, could people get that? Because you've written some hymns.
I have, and some psalms and so forth. Yeah, we can talk about that.
We need to,
people are interested.
They're absolutely wonderful. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll chat a little bit
okay.
afterwards, and you can
good.
tell us how we did.
All right.
And you're free to tell them if that was not what you had in mind.
No,
if
that
there's
was
something you would
beautiful.
change.
That was beautiful.
All right.
You know, a good piece, and I hope that's a good piece, can really sustain and handle in a wonderful way different interpretations. I just love what you guys did with it.
Thank you.
You know, I think what's really impressive about what they did with the piece is sort of the maintaining the line throughout the entire piece. The piece is almost 12 minutes long,
Yeah.
but you maintain the musical line in the broadest sense of that term, both the melody and all the things you're doing. You know, it's a single, like, breathing out, you know, all the way to the end of So Beautiful. So.
Well, we really like the piece a lot.
Thanks.
And,
Yeah.
excuse me, here, come down into the. So, and we had worked with some English chamber music by William
Yes.
Walton,
Mhm.
and so I think we kind of connected on that level with your
Mhm.
use of your beautiful lines in there.
Mm-hmm.
So
one of the things as a performer is when you work on a piece, you can usually access all sorts of academic writings. You can read books about Mozart and Bach, and you can figure out what they were thinking. They wrote lots of letters, or you can get deep into the analysis of the piece. And one of the cool things with this is, I mean, nothing's been written, so
right.
it was kind of like digging through a gold mine and finding things and
Well, then to be able to just talk to the composers.
Yeah, right.
So,
but one of the, and we were talking about this the other day, one of the things that I really appreciate about Brian's writing is he tells you what he's going to do before he does it, but only if you're really good at finding it do you kind of see it on the page. And so there are places where it's like, oh, he's going to this key, but he's setting it up, half a measure early or a measure early, and then he, it was
and
really
as
cool.
a theologian, Brian, we thought maybe was thinking kind of like the Apostle Paul in all of his letters. He would kind of tell you what he was going to talk about in the introduction, and so Brian kind of sets things up. I don't know. I didn't ask you. Were you thinking along the lines of?
Yeah, it's writing a piece. I think we have this sort of Beethovenian notion, which I don't think he would necessarily even agree with. That it's all about I'm gonna command the idea, and I'm going to sort of like, you're going to listen to my great ideas and so forth, and it's all about me creating this thing. But in reality, there's a lot of discovery that goes on when you write a piece. So you're sort of in a midwifery role in a way to bring forth the piece according to its own inner necessities, according to who and what it is. So, as I've thought about the piece, sort of retrospectively, certainly I do write that way. I'm very much a themes person, when the melody's there and that kind of thing, and so developing those. But if there's any image for this piece, it's kind of like we were talking about a journey, but it's a journey of two people. So like Dante and Virgil in the Divine Comedy, they go through this long journey, and then Virgil passes him off to Beatrice, which is this heavenly person, his great love, and so it's kind of like that, and I sort of think of the ending there, that super reflective, transcendent ending as Beatrice.
I didn't know any of this.
So anyway, but you did, because it's in the music. But that was all retrospective too.
That's right. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
not it's
So
yeah.
as a Christian, do you feel that your music is one of the gifts of the Holy Spirit? That
I do.
Do you begin with prayer? Do you begin your composition?
Prayer is definitely part of it. I ought to always begin with prayer, but people know about Bach. There's the SDG puts at the end of the score, Sola Deo Gloria, to the glory of God alone. Everyone knows that. But you know what he put at the beginning of his scores? JJ. Do you know what that stands for? Jesu Juva. Jesus, help me.
Oh.
You don't hear that, do you? Right? Because that Sola Deo
That's what
Gloria
I say
thing.
every time I start a piece.
Yeah, seriously. And so literally, I do pray to Jesus for help when I'm writing. He's the creator. Everything was created through him. And so he understands what creativity is like. And that thing with the Holy Spirit, it's really true. It's like I had the privilege of having Kenya, and another fine musician, Ellen Lind, come and play at, and a trumpet player in our own congregation, play on Pentecost. And it was so beautiful. We played this piece by Handel, I sang, and it was just a beautiful mass overall. And it occurred to me later, you know, there's Pentecost, the sending of the Holy Spirit, it's sort of like the beginning of the end of the curse of Babel. So that was when the languages of the world were confused. Well, Pentecost, now the one language of the gospel, is spoken in languages that everyone can understand. So it's like, and I had this insight for the first time, and I shared it with them in an email, that I think of music as kind of like that. You know, as the universal language of mankind, as Longfellow said, you know, and speaking of these beautiful things that can bring us together and bring us hope, and kind of like opening a door on a beautiful world. So anyway, I'm so happy. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you very much. And our last piece on the program is